Hello, welcome to this channel. I'm Arman, to the animator for games. I'm sharing some cool stuff using Spine here. So this is the sixth video from the series where I rig and animate Tracer from Overwatch. Today we will be looking at attack animation. Let's see what we have. We have Tracer and we are working with Spine 4.0 version, still in beta. And I already have done animation. Here is it. To avoid lengthy videos, I will be just explaining what I have done step by step and not doing the whole animation from scratch in this video. It would be like 2 hours, I think. Okay, so first what I do when I get these kind of animations, the complex one that has several actions in it, like jumping and kicking or casting spell with some movements, I would think of some nice poses. So let's see what poses I came up with when I was starting the animation. I have 5 poses here: anticipation, the actual jump, anticipation for the kick itself, and the landing pose. Normally people may work directly with this animation, with this like adjusting timing and adding some in-between poses or playing with this favor tool so you can favor one pose to another. But I feel more comfortable just keeping them in separate animation and using them as reference, so I can come back and see or maybe copy some bone position and paste it in my main animation. Okay, so first when I create the poses and I like them, I start to see the animation, but I'm not sure about the timing. So the first I start working on timing. I use this bone and I make the basic animation to see which timing I like. Here is how it looks at the end of this stage. I can already see that this section would be for kick, and start to imagine how the legs would look, how they would move. Of course, I can't imagine all the animation at this stage, but the next stage I would do the legs. I would do like rough posing here, but this is the finished state. So here it would look on this stage, and you can notice that I haven't touched the body. Actually the body is disabled like this, like so, at this stage, to not disturb the view. And when I am happy with this, I may start working on the body itself. Let me unhide the body by right clicking on this circle and playing animation in slow-mo. We can use playback and hit on the 10%. Okay, so you can see. You can check the knee here. It's fully in 2D, but at the moment it separates to give a perspective. Here is it. And there are some snapping, etc., but an animation played in normal pace, they are not noticeable. Okay, let's break it down. First thing, what happens, she decides to run and kick, and for that she leans forward here, and immediately the ground starts going left. And in game she would move forward, of course, but here we just make it in same place. So the ground starts moving, the leg x-axis for the feet has no easing here, they are linear, and also this one, to avoid sliding on the ground. And the moment the feet is releasing the ground, this one, it can be eased, and when it plants again, it again goes with the ground with the same pace without any easing. And when it lands, you can see that the other leg starts to raise to give additional force to the body when it jumps. And here we have it. And also you can see that when the body leans down, this part may be a little bit delayed, the chest. And when the body starts to go up, this leg works very hard. This one works very hard to push the whole body, because the other leg is in the air to give additional impulse to the jump. So this leg pushes the butt itself pushes the spine, which will pushing this part a little bit later. So here we still have that going down, and only after that it goes up, and it mostly behaves with a delay to this section. Let's look at the arms and legs, how they work together. Normally when character is walking or running without carrying anything, just simple animation, the arms would oppose the legs. So if right leg goes forward, the right arm would go backward, and assuming that the chest would rotate and the shoulders would come towards the camera, and the butt section would rotate away from the camera. In this situation we need to exaggerate it to give the highest impact for the kick. So she accumulates the energy by rotating this part against this part, and then she expands, she opens up, and additionally she lands the foot on the face of the enemy. So mostly arms and legs are opposing each other. General advice on animation: when you find your poses for character and know how you are going to animate, make sure you have silhouettes working for you. So let's see the poses actual and see how you read the silhouettes of the character. It has to be clean and not like with overlapping parts like this or this, because those can be also the nice working poses, like powerful and etc. But it's not readable, it's not quickly understandable. So you need to make sure that the player has no effort to understand the animation. And to make it even better, you can just enhance them, like make the transitions quicker before the pose, after the pose, and the pose a little bit slower, or maybe some with slow motion, I don't know, not exaggerated of course. We don't want to players to see that there is a slow motion, but we need to somehow exaggerate that poses so the player reads the poses. Otherwise everything would look linear. Okay, let's see what we left. Normally when I do kick or attack animation, like the moment that blow is delivered, I would do in 2 frames. One is before and after is already done. Here I did it in 3 frames, just added intermediate blur images, which I did it in Photoshop, just used the leg and with motion blur just achieve these effects. I used deform keys to achieve the nice look. Of course you could use the bone and binding of the meshes, but these effects smoothen the feeling of the animation. And of course we have one image that like FX, or I don't know how, I just quickly found it on internet just to make it more noticeable that we have a kick. So we have an image that shows here that smoothens the part, and you can see when the blow is delivered, the body after that starts to go back, to rotate, to find the balance of the body, to prepare herself for landing. Next, let's quickly cover how I animated the knee to give an illusion that leg is in perspective, otherwise it would be here, and also use the I key of course. So for that, let's select the transform constraint, and check it out. I have at the max value. That means that the leg would behave as a normal IQ, but here I have reduced the values, so the knee tries to go back to normal, to straight pose, and then I can move the knee here, of course, but I didn't need it to do it because I think it's enough for me here. And I bring the transform values back in animation. If you want to see how I did the rig of this leg, you can check the video in the playlist link on the screen. Another thing is when I try to shorten arms in perspective. Let's see what I'm talking about. Here you can see this arm and this arm are shortened. I have used the scale value, for example here, and you see when I scale it, this section is not scaling because it has scale of inheritance disabled. So this way you can scale the arm section of them and achieve some kind of illusion of perspective again. So you can see that this section is also scaled, but not the hand itself. By the way, while I was using this new graph editor, I found out that the store button is super useful. For example, when you have this kind of keys here, but you understand that the curve is very simple and you want to clean it up here. So you can just hit the store and remove some frames without being scared of losing the curve. And later you can just see the previous stored curve and try to match it with few frames. Okay, we have cleaned it up. And of course there are some more tips that I have learned. For example, you want to select this, you may notice that the box selection that we are used to is not here, and if you want to expand and contract this selection, you can do that. But if you hold for a few seconds, for 1 second, the old box selection would come. Here is it. It's awesome. Also, if you want to play animation, for example, you want to see how the character is animating from 10 frame, and you hit play and then you put on the 10 frame again, you hit play. There is another button. I just found out it in the shortcuts here. This one, I have assigned a key for this, and what it does, it we go back to spine. When you hit A, it plays the animation as it's supposed to play, but when you hit A again, it will come back to 10 frame and not just pause animation. So you can play 10 and again go back to play 10 and back. This is very useful. And lastly, if you have not seen my previous tutorials, if you want to animate bones using separate axes, like in this situation, you can move X and Y axis on timeline keys separately. For that, you need to select the bone, come here and click separate, translate, scale or shear. And you need to do this for each animation, because if you do this here in another animation, you will need to make it separate again. Okay, so this is based on animation. That was it, guys, for this video. I'm really sorry that I didn't cover whole process of animation in this video. I really can't see how I can do this because I normally animate in 2 or 3 hours. Let me actually bring it back. I wanted to ask if there is something you see that can be improved, because I personally don't like the top section. The arms look like fuzzy and don't understandable. So in this case, if you don't see something is working, you can disable and like isolate the problem. For now, I see that the chest and legs are working normally, but when I enable arms, it really creates some kind of mess at the top section of the body. I tried to solve it, but I really can't see what is the problem, because the poses looks good. I don't know. If you have any ideas how it can be done, fixed, or whatever, let me know in the comments. Next, I will cover some animation, maybe dashing animation, because Tracer basically dashes all over time and she rewinds the time clock using her machine on the chest. So maybe some dashing animation with some effects would come in the next video. Thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe if you haven't to not miss any upcoming videos. Bye.